Hello, and welcome. So glad you guys can join me today. Welcome. I am Mandy Rice of teachonamission.com, and I help teachers build sustainable classrooms so they can actually stay there longer. It's kind of the idea. And it's funny that I say that now because I feel like teacher stress and overwhelm is really peaking. I was just actually, why I had my phone over here is because I was just looking in one of my Facebook groups. I support, sorry, I have this hair in my eye. I support AP psychology teachers in their courses and stuff and kind of helping them be sustainable essentially. And a lot of them are finding out like right now that their schools are closing for the year. And then with that comes a lot of other unanswered questions, right? And so I'm betting that if you're here today, it's kind of because you're feeling the same way. And if you wouldn't mind just getting in the comments and introducing yourself, letting us know where it is that you're coming from, where you teach, what you teach maybe, and just letting us know where you are on the overwhelm spectrum. Like really bored or like almost comatose because you're so overwhelmed and your body has to go into shock because you just can't take it anymore. So yeah, let us know in the comments. Just because I feel like when we get in a group like this, we very much are establishing I'm with people like me. I'm with my people. That's what I always call teachers. Teachers are my people, the good, bad, and the ugly, right? And being around them in most settings, right, is really uplifting because if nothing else, we can kind of get on one level and recognize both the difficulties and the beauty in what we do. And so if you guys can get in the comments and let us know where you are, what you teach, and if your school has decided to close down yet. I'm in Ohio, and so I know that it's a little ways off because we are out through May 1st. So we still have 2 full more weeks until the governor will get back on and kind of decide. I don't see us going back May 4th, but I don't know if that means he's then going to call it for the year or not. So, but that's not why we're here today necessarily, is to talk about if, schools are going to be closing down. But I hope that you can get in the comments and just kind of let us know so that we can join with you in the phase that you're in all of this craziness, essentially. Okay, so today we're going to dive into, and I'm just kind of looking at my notes here, how you can, I'm totally on the wrong page here. Let me get to my page. There we go. That's better. Today we're focusing on thinking beyond your online classroom. And you're probably like, what is she smoking? I am not thinking anywhere. I'm not thinking 5 minutes beyond my online classroom because I'm drowning in it right now. Okay, you're totally right. You're totally right. But I want to challenge you a little bit on that because thinking about what your classroom will look like when you return to it, when this whole pandemic is over, is really important. And I'm going to tell you why. So Whitney says Nebraska 7 to 12 science. Awesome. We are out for the remainder of the year. I think Wisconsin just called it, or it could have, she's in a private school system. So I think maybe it was just her school system that decided that. But, Melissa says 2nd grade in Illinois, our stay at home is until, the end of the month. Just want to know the plan for the rest. I know, right? Like, I just want to know for the rest of the year, what's going to be happening. And I feel that, because here's the thing, even if we do go back, it's a catch-22 because if you don't go back, it's more online planning. If we do go back, holy moly, what does that look like? Because I don't think it's you just go back to normal. But I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it's seeing where you are in your online learning or in your online classroom and teaching and then going from there. But just because you're putting it out there doesn't mean the horse is going to drink, right? Like your students, right? It doesn't mean that all of them have been doing everything that you've been asking. So I know that either way, it's going to be a lot of work on teachers. And so Joan says, high school Utah, we are out for the rest of the year. Man, it's just so tough. But I know it's necessary, but it's just so tough, so tough. So I feel for all of you and hope that you can find some solace in being around other teachers and chatting with them. But with that in mind, I'm focusing on this topic today of, your online classroom, but how your online classroom can serve your actual classroom once you go back to it. Okay, so I'm focusing on this topic today because here's the thing, if we all go back to our classrooms as if nothing has changed, as if nothing happened, all that we're doing right now will be for nothing. All of this work and this learning that you're doing will be for nothing if we don't let it in some way inform and even change the way we do normal in our actual classrooms. Melissa says, I will feel like the beginning of the year all over again. Yeah, it very much will. It very much will. Yeah, it's rough. So here's the other thing. This is the perfect time to make sweeping changes in education, if you ask me. I know that that's not necessarily going to happen because our states make those decisions and they are drowning in all things COVID-19. Like, I get that. But at the teacher level, even though, we're drowning in building our online classrooms, the very things you are doing can very much inform the way you're going to do things when you go back. We have to think about how to be efficient with the work we're doing now so that it can ultimately be used in our classrooms for better instruction once this whole online classroom thing is done or gone, right? So I'm going to show you today how making small tweaks to what you're building and what you're doing in your online classroom right now can be used in a flipped classroom when you're teaching this content in your actual, right, in the four walls of your classroom a year from now. Because here's the thing, most of you, if not all of you, the things that you're building right now, you're going to be doing a year from now, right? Hopefully there's not a pandemic. Oh, Lord help us. And you're back in the classroom, right? I hope that you don't take all that you've been doing and just like throw it in the virtual garbage and go back to the old way that you were doing things in like the March and April months of what you normally are doing like in your curriculum. Now you might, because that might have been stinking awesome and you can't wait to just say goodbye to all this stuff. But I hope that you have found a few things, and I want to help point out a few things for you, especially in the coming weeks, of the power behind all of the work that you are doing. And that's a good segue. I wasn't going to share this until the end, but next week's blog post and then ultimately our Facebook Live is going to be the power of what you are doing right now, which is making videos probably of you teaching stuff, or at least you're on Zoom or Google Meet or whatever that looks like and you're delivering the content. What the power is in what is essentially flipped video. The power behind that. Not necessarily what it is, although we can talk about that, the power behind it. But that's next week. And I'm really pumped for that because I kind of geek out about this whole flipped classroom thing. It's just kind of my MO. Okay, so I kind of lost my place. I'm going to show you, how you can take what you're doing now and make it implementable, right? Usable a year from now. Okay, first, it's about those videos, which is where we're going to spend a lot of our time next week. But here's the thing, you're investing a ton of time in videos. If you're making videos of you explaining things like over your screen, like with a Screencast-O-Matic or a Screencastify, any of those things, or if you use Camtasia, if you saw, I put out a tutorial a few weeks back on Camtasia. It's what I've been using to flip my classroom for over 10 years. But here's the thing, you're investing so much time into those, even if it's just like the few minutes where you're recording. But I'm betting it's more than that because you had to prep for it and record it and then put it somewhere for your students to access. But if you make these changes, you'll be able to use them again. And that is a better return on your time investment. That's what I talk to teachers about a lot because, return on investment, ROI, is like a nerdy business term, right? And we're not in business. Like, I'm not making millions of dollars because I'm some CEO or a partner in my company, right? No. But there's nothing more precious than a teacher's time. And so I preach to teachers a lot, especially those in my course and my membership, that you want to make sure that whatever it is you are doing with your time, you are getting the most return possible on that time investment. Absolutely. You have to, or you're not going to be able to sustain and maintain what it is that you're doing. So here's how you can do this. This one might seem kind of obvious, but you're probably up to your eyeballs, right, in online classroom that you haven't thought of this. So to me, it seems kind of obvious, but I'm betting, right, if you're like the fog hasn't lifted from all this online stuff, that you haven't thought about this yet. When you are recording a video, meaning you're not live with your students, so that asynchronous time where you say, hey, I made this video explaining a formula or biomes or, any of those sorts of things. Watch this before Wednesday when we meet on Zoom, something like that. In those recorded videos, so that you can use them again, don't reference time, meaning the time of year. Don't reference the pandemic at all. Because using these a year from now, any reference to that kind of stuff is going to confuse your students. Probably so much so that you won't want to use the video, or you're going to want to edit it, and ain't nobody got time for that, right? So think of that now when you're making your videos. Because here's the thing, everything else that you do, whether it's in your Zoom or it's on a Google Doc of directions that you give students, or your website or Google Classroom, whatever that looks like, that's where you can make it more about right now. Okay. Or in a recent Facebook Live and blog post, I talked about how synchronous time on Zoom or Google Meet should be for connection, and asynchronous time should be used for content, right? That synchronous time you have for your students, that's when it's about right now and the pandemic and the time and how are things going and how can I help you? And you know what? That's exactly what it's going to look like in the flipped classroom too. Your asynchronous time, meaning when you are not physically in front of your students telling them the content, you're in a recorded video, right? That's for content. Whereas your synchronous time, where you are with a small group, or you are with your whole group and they are paying attention to you, that's the synchronous time, right? That's for connection with your class as a whole, with that small group, with those individuals. It looks the same in a flipped classroom too. You just have the beautiful thing that we're all missing right now, which is physical presence with our kids. Ugh, yeah. Okay, then the next kind of tip with the video, first one being don't reference time or the pandemic. The next one is try, depending on what you use to make your videos, try to get a file that you can save, like an MP4 file. So when I use Camtasia, it brings it up as a Camproj is what it's called, and I get to edit it and take out anything ridiculous like my dog barking or my child interrupting. And I get to add like thought bubbles or anything like that. And then I share that, which just means make it where you want it to, like take it where you want it to go. And I turn that into an MP4 file. That then is usable elsewhere. And just allows you to do a few things. Now, if you're using something like a Screencast-O-Matic, I could be wrong here, but I don't think it lets you download what it is that you have created. It's all cloud-based. But what it does allow you to do is send it to YouTube. Even if you send it to YouTube and don't make it viewable by everyone on YouTube, there's a beautiful thing in having it there because you now have that link. That link to that video, even if it's private or only people that you say can see it, that link can now go into the organization system I want to talk to you about. Guys, as I'm talking, please feel free to plug in any questions you have. Any questions about anything I'm talking about, how to make what you're doing now usable a year from now. Any questions you have, plug them into the comments, please do. Okay, so the first one is with the videos and what you can do to make those usable. Second is about organization, which I kind of just hinted at. For each of the steps of what I call the student experience, that's just what I call it, because I need to be able to think in terms of, okay, what is it that my students are going to see and experience in my classroom? And what is it that I need to do to create that? I mean, that's what a teacher does, right? And so me thinking of, okay, how do I then put that in a lesson plan and all of that is just way too much for me. So my lesson plans look different than maybe, I don't even know if a traditional lesson plan exists. I hate traditional lesson plans. That's just kind of where I stand on them. But my lesson plans are very much how I organize what is the student experience. And most of the time, I can get a whole 2 weeks into one Google document. Not one page. It'll be multiple pages, but it's in a table. And I recommend, even if you don't want a lesson plan this way, here's what I do recommend in getting organized right now so that you can use it next year. You are probably using all kinds of things in your online classroom right now. First, I would hope that you could streamline that as much as possible. So using one place to put your videos. Using one thing for like student activities, like a Go Formative or something like that. But I know that that's not always possible. So let me get back to the structure. The structure is what matters. I would love for you guys to go to my blog. I'm putting it in the comments right now. teachonamission.com/blog. It's the most recent post about why flipping is the answer during COVID-19 distance learning. And this is why, right? And in there, I show you, where did I make that? Shoot, I'm forgetting now. But I show you what that table can look like, okay? Now, the first column is like the topic. So neurons or biomes or, I don't know, something in algebra. I'm a social studies teacher. Sorry, everybody. The next column is the video, and I want you to link the heck out of that thing. Don't just like enter in the title of the video. No, hyperlink that bad boy, because I don't want to go searching from here to Timbuktu for all of my videos that I made. I want it linked right there so that I know exactly what to do with it next year. The next column is like the student activity. Whatever it is that you're having students do with the information they learn from the video. So if that's a Go Formative, by the way, I have not talked about that yet. I used it, I don't know why I haven't talked about it yet. I loved Go Formative, loved it. Anywho, or if it's a Google Doc, if it's just a Google Doc that you assigned in Google Classroom, link that in the student activities column. The last column is whatever your formative assessment looks like, which could be the same as the student activity. But if you just get those basic 3 areas, fourth if you count the topic, if you get those basics and you get them linked, just as you make them, link them and put them in a table really quickly, and then don't even look at it until a year from now. A year from now, you're going to be thanking the right now you. You're going to be like, oh, thank you, past Mandy. Thank you so much. Because now it's all there, meaning most of it is there. And I don't have to go searching all over the place for all of the different things and places I was going in the crazy pace that was online learning. That's the next point. The third and last one is to settle on a structure that looks similar to what it is we talked about in that organization with the chart. That organization being my students watched a video, they did a thing, and that thing oftentimes looked similar but was different because of the topic, and then they formatively assessed. I understand that that's nothing new. Duh, they learn, they apply their learning, they check their learning. Get it. But that is so super, not dumbed down, but super simple of all of the moving parts of what you have going on. And that's why I suggest that organization with the chart. But this third pointer is about deciding on that structure, what platforms you're going to use, and the structure itself, because it could look differently from that, so that it can be used in your actual in-person classroom. I hope that makes sense. Let me explain to you what that looked like in my classroom. My students would go to my Google site, and my Google site is where I put all of my videos because I didn't want to send them to YouTube, although they are YouTube videos. I also didn't want to be uploading videos to Google Classroom every single year. I don't want to be doing that. And because all they're doing is watching and taking notes, they're not turning anything in on Google Classroom. So I don't want it on Google Classroom. I sent them to the Google site at the beginning of the year, reminded them for the first few weeks, and then said, here's your homework. It's this video. They have one place to go. And then let's see. Oh, I lost my train of thought. Okay, so they watched that video. Then when we were in class together, whether it was stations that we were doing, anything that, or like a handout, whether it was a physical one or like I made them do it on Google Classroom, whatever, I had that linked in the student activities column, essentially. And then that really is where the variety lies, is in what your students are doing. But then my formative assessment was always either a Google form or it was the video itself in something like Play Pause It. I also then did topic quizzes, which were Google Docs, and I just linked those bad boys there too, so that I had that nice and organized. I didn't have to remember the structure, and I didn't have to remember where all the moving parts were. And here's the thing, monotony is your friend. Because I'm making it sound like my students did the same darn thing every single day. And here's the thing, they kind of did. They just didn't know it because the content was different. And what they were doing in class could vary slightly, but because where they were or what they were working with was different, it didn't feel the same. To me, it was exactly the same. And a lot of times I'd be like, guys, we're just kind of doing the same thing. Sorry. And then I was thinking, I don't think I should say that out loud because I don't think they feel that. I feel it, but they don't. Monotony is your friend. It is your friend, especially during uncertain times like right now. I'm talking about as I'm looking at this. So I'm going to share my screen really quickly. This is my website. I just went to the blog portion of it. This is the blog post. And at the bottom of it, I'm talking, and I just said this, right? Whoever said monotony was bad. And then I talk about the why in the blog post. I don't really get into that here a ton about what this is going to do for your classroom in the long run. And then I tell you about the Ultimate Flip Classroom Starter Kit. And you can click there and it's going to take you to the page where you get the starter kit. So you could go straight here by going to teachonamission.com/starter kit. And that will take you straight there. Let's see. So a visual, you know what, guys, I am like losing my noggin right now because I know I made this somewhere like just the other day. And why am I forgetting where I put it? Okay. I need to like not let you guys see all of my personal details here for a second because that's not very smart. Okay, I'm wasting our time. I'm going to find it and I'm going to link it in here. I know I've created it somewhere and it's a visual so that you guys can see it and see exactly what I'm talking about. But to explain it a little more simply for you, it's just a table in a Google Doc. Okay, it's just a table in a Google Doc and it's topic, video, student activity or student engagement, guided practice, whatever you want to call that, and then formative assessment. And then underneath each of those, for each of the topics, I just link the heck out of whatever it is I put in each of those. So I hope that is helpful for you. And Whitney and Eddie, I see your questions and I am going to work on finding that because I know I made it. I spent all this time like making stuff with the blog posts and all kinds of things, and now I can't even stinking find it. Hashtag online classroom overwhelm, right? Okay. So I told you about the starter kit. I just wanted to remind you of what is coming up next week. So while I do that, if you guys have questions, other than the one that I couldn't answer of where's the visual of my lesson plan idea, please plug those in. I would love to answer those for you. But next week, we're going to be talking about the power of these online videos you're making in your actual classroom, right? You're spending all this time making these videos. Let's talk about the power behind them, because right now you're so wrapped up in, first of all, making them, and second of all the students that aren't watching them because you can't be there to physically remind them to. But I want to talk to you about the power of those videos when you're in your classroom. And there's lots of goodies to talk about there. All right, guys, stay tuned. I'm going to find that resource that I made, and I'm going to link it for you because it is super important and super helpful. Okay, thanks so much for tuning in. We're going to go live around this time next Thursday as well, talking about the power of that video and how you want to use those videos in your classroom a year from now. All right, thanks, guys. Have a great, what's going to be a weekend here soon, and we'll see you next time. Bye.